Welcome to Press Play, where we talk with high-performing individuals about what they do when that computer shuts down, laptop closes, and how they unwind, recharge, and do the things that are meaningful also to them. So I have the pleasure of speaking with Chris Geib, who is the Chief Development Officer at the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Chris, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for having.
I got a sneak peek at some of your responses to some of the questions I have for you. But first and foremost, we have to talk about your expanding family. So you have a 3-month-old. Tell me about it.
I have a couple teenagers and a 3-month-old, so I got both sides of the spectrum, which is interesting to say the least. But yeah, we welcomed a new baby boy May 2nd, and he's happy, healthy, and he's, knock on wood, starting to sleep very well through the
Oh,
night. I wouldn't say we have it figured out, but I think we're close at least, and so that's the important part. Hopefully that trend keeps on moving forward.
oh, that sleep. I remember that lack of sleep in the beginning, but it's like all worth it and quite amazing. So your teenagers, are they helping with the baby at all?
As much as teenagers can.
Yeah.
So they are. They don't do the dirty work, but they'll play and hold and talk and
Oh.
have fun, and they love it. And I think they're excited for this expansion.
I bet that's such a cool experience for them and how when they grow their families one day that they'll like have a lot of those skills of, being with a baby. So that's really cool.
Now it's fun watching them because we have some young nieces and nephews the last few years too, so they've been great with them. So I knew they'd be great with their new little brother, and so far so good.
Oh my gosh. So some of the things I know about you are barbecue, golf, fishing, all like those are like some core staple things right there. Tell me, like, is there out of those, is there one that's your like favorite?
I mean, I'd have to say barbecue because it's more accessible with
Yeah.
a busy schedule and between work, family, and other obligations. Like you cook every day at home, right? And so it's kind of been my passion for a while. Obviously, would love more time to fish and to golf, but those both take a lot of time and money for that matter. So you're going to spend money and you got to block off a lot of time to do those. So while I love those things and sports in general, I think barbecue is definitely my passion because I can do it every day of the week if I really want to, even if it's a fast cook just for dinner or something on the smoker all day long. Either way.
Okay, your family must be happy about this. Because in my house, like no one cooks really well or has that passion. So it's like, oh, who's doing dinner? And we're all pointing fingers. Me and my husband are pointing fingers at each other, like your turn or whatever. But so is there a barbecue dish that you would be like famous for?
I mean, I wouldn't say famous, but I don't think there's really one. I love trying out all kinds of things. I wouldn't say instead of famous, like my personal favorite would be the big. I don't know if you've seen the big, like they call them Dino beef ribs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those are my favorite, and people always ask like, where do you get those? Because they're you don't just see a big rack of ribs Flintstone style, but
I was
I mean,
just thinking that.
yeah, I mean that's what it looks like. I mean they're thick. It kind of, to me, people love, brisket's kind of king of meat barbecue. It's same kind of beef, right? It's near the same part of the animal, so similar flavor and texture if you cook it right. But I personally like the beef ribs better because they're bone in. I feel like always makes things better anyways, and they're easy to find too. You just go, you see the little square short ribs that they sell at Publix or wherever else. Just walk to the meat counter and ask them, "Can you give me these before you cut them all up?" Because it's the same piece of meat. They just cut them in a bunch of squares, for the normal person. But then you have crazy people who just want to cook Flintstone.
Is it all about the seasoning too? I guess
Yeah,
seasoning.
I mean, I just make my own. I mean, with beef, I always tell people just keep it simple too, especially anything steak, beef, brisket, like salt, pepper, and garlic is all you need. People
Okay.
get real crazy with it sometimes, but you keep it simple with that, and then try out your own blends of it and a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. I've been doing it for years, and it's really
Oh,
fun.
wow. So, I mean, and that's a cool way to wind down, I guess, that from work is something you enjoy and that you can do like right after work or whatever, where, sometimes like you can't go play around a golf right after work or, so that is pretty cool that you have something that just gives you joy and also helps your family.
Yes, I say it's my creative outlet also.
Yeah.
I just love everything about it, and I love figuring out ways. Okay, I have an hour to get home and cook dinner, so obviously I'm not doing brisket, but what can I make that's good and unique and that fuels my kind of passion of feeding the family or my neighbors. I'm always inviting people over too, and I just love bringing people together through cooking.
That's cool. I think that's my favorite part
Yeah.
is whenever we have, we used to call them steak nights and just like everyone come over and some people would bring the asparagus or the potatoes or the whatever and you just bring, everyone comes together. I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's cool.
Where are you from originally?
From North Florida near Jacksonville. Grew up in Amelia Island, Fernandina Beach.
Oh, that's so beautiful, that area. Oh my goodness. So that must be why you're a big Jaguars fan.
So I was 10. Yep. I remember really since I was like 9 because I remember the day they announced the Jags were coming to Jacksonville. I was at an after school program and we had it on the TV, the announcement. I'll pretend like I don't know the actual date, but I do. It was in November. But I remember my dad picked me up and I just looked at him and he's like, "We got tickets." And I was like, he knew that was my next question.
Dads are
So
the
we had
best.
season tickets until, I went to college and then I've had
Whoa.
season tickets off and on from Tallahassee back and forth, and I still get, from here. It's not quite an easy day drive from the Tampa Bay area, but I
Yeah.
still get to 3 or 4 games a year. Use it as a little trip to go back home and see the family.
That is awesome. How about your kids, your teens? Are they, and your wife, are they Jaguar fans? Have they become part of the team?
They were forced into it.
That's right.
I remember my son when my son was 10. He goes, "Why are we fans of this team? They're not very good." And I was like, "Well,
Oh,
someone's got to do it, and you gotta stick with it no matter what."
that's
My
right.
wife, she grew up in the same hometown too, so she's a fan, but she was born and her whole family are in the DC area, so they're Washington Commanders fans.
Oh
So she
boy.
adopted Jacksonville though.
Oh my goodness. That is cool. That is really cool. So in terms of like, going back to fishing, is there a good spot that you love to go?
A bunch of great spots. I mean, around here and with the NPCF, like we host fishing tournaments, so I'm still involved. I don't really fish in those. I'm working, but it's still fun, and I'm, get to talk to a lot of the fishing guides out there
Mhm.
too, and made friends with some of them. And the inshore fishing in Tampa Bay is great for snook and redfish and trout and that kind of thing. I'd love to be able to do more offshore fishing too, like down. It's harder from the Bay Area. You have to go so far
Yeah.
offshore, but like being able to, the few times I've been able to do it in like the Florida Keys or something like that, and being able to go mahi fishing and, would love to do more of like sailfish or marlin one day. That's a whole
Ooh.
different category. But my favorite thing that is accessible even on short times is we live in Florida and there's a lot of neighborhoods with a lot of ponds and you can grab a
Yes.
fishing pole in 30 minutes, go bass fishing. And we used to do that with the kids a lot and fish for 30 minutes, catch a couple of fish and move on to the next pond if they're not there. So from pond hopping all the way to offshore fishing, I love everything about it, just being outdoors and just catching fish. It's fun.
Definitely. Me and my family are big outdoors people, and I would say like those pond fishing memories, they're like core memories that your kids will have forever. Just doing something simple and, just being with their dad or family. It's really cool.
Right. Yeah, no, I know my daughter and I we just found a random pond not to like last fall. We were over, my sister-in-law lives in like the Brandon area, and I was looking on a map and I was like, I think there's a pond, like we could pretty much walk to it. We'll drive because, I don't feel like walking a mile, but
Yeah.
we tried it out and caught, I would say, I don't know, I didn't weigh it, but it was top 10 biggest bass I've ever caught for sure. It was pushing
Wow.
6 or 7 pounds easily,
Oh my gosh.
just in a little neighborhood hood pond. And, of course, we got tons of cool pictures from it and everything. And so memories that can truly last a lifetime with, especially when it's kids and with your family. So just, I encourage everyone just to go grab a fishing pole and pond hop. All you need is a little worm and they'll eat it. Any Florida pond, you'll catch a fish.
I think that's what's surprising that like even for people who might be like, oh, I don't, that's not really what I want to do. If you go out and do it, it's like surprisingly fun, natural. It just feels like
Right.
I'm not into it. But when I go with my family, all of a sudden I'm into it and I'm relaxed and it's fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, you can't beat just unplugging, even if it's for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I think that's key for anyone. I wish I could do it more. I look back on some of those, like, why don't I do this all the time? And then you look at your schedule and like, oh,
That's why.
that's
Yeah.
yep.
So speaking of unplugging, another thing that you like to do is writing. And I found this fascinating because I don't when I talk with people most times mostly it doesn't come up that writing is I don't speak with many writers is what I'm trying to say. So tell me about it. Like And I hear that you have a cookbook in the working.
Oh, it's been in the works for a long time.
In the
Same
works,
with a
yeah.
couple other books. So I wouldn't say writer, I'd say I enjoy writing. I have a couple ideas of books and then go back to kind of the creative outlet of the barbecue world is, trying to share that passion with other people through it. And so a while back I started just some barbecue social media pages just to kind of fuel that passion. And most of them are me just making something and telling someone how I did it, which is really in a sense helping me write my cookbook also because I
Wow.
have it all, written out in my head here. I
Yeah.
have a very skeleton, draft on Word document as I'm going through it. But every time I post a video of something, it helps me fuel that book that I'll eventually will finish. And one day I'll actually get kicked into gear. And I know enough people that have written different books or something that I know once I get it actually sketched out, I can get some help formatting and everything else. But for me, it's just putting ideas on paper. And, I've gone through a couple like even fictional type books that I've kind of started putting together, just kind of fun ideas. I'm not great at completing them, but I keep it going and I keep the thought process going. And one day, I'll bring it to the finish line.
I think that is so brilliant, so fascinating. I have an idea about a sci-fi book. I'll tell you off air. But anyway, because it's really weird. But I've been thinking about it for so long, and I'm like, gosh, I just want to like put this together, and it would be purely for entertainment. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a writer or anything. It's just that I have this like weird idea, and I just like to write too.
No, I mean, I've gone through things. I have a draft of like 15 poems that I've written that I was like, well, maybe one book could be a book of poems, and then I
Yeah.
have my cookbook, and then I have, a fictional book because I just sometimes ideas just come about, and it's just my creative mind. I used to really like art growing up too, and I'm not the
Mm.
best artist though, so I still dabble in that, but I sort of use the writing and the barbecue and that
Yeah.
kind of thing as my creative outlet, not only to unplug, but more so just to fuel that creativity. I'm not a marketing guy, I'm not a designer, but in my mind, I have all those thoughts and designs. So just try to get that from this brain to a piece of paper sometimes is the result sometimes is interesting, but it's a fun process.
Oh my goodness. So if it's like a Friday night, what are you and your family doing? What's a kind of a typical Friday night look like?
Probably sporting events these
Hmm.
days with teenagers, which is fun. But if we don't have family stuff going on or sports stuff going on, we have a large family kind of on both sides. So it seems like there's always somebody visiting or we're
Mm.
visiting somewhere. So it's nice when it's just us as we'll just do them. Like I look forward to our just a movie night. Like let's find a good movie and let's just pile up on the couch, get some popcorn and watch a movie if there's nothing else going on because we just stay busy with a senior in high school and a sophomore who are both very involved in their own sports respectively. There's very minimal weekends where there's not something going on.
Wow. Wow, you guys really are busy.
I say it all the time, but I look at everyone else, everyone's busy.
Hmm?
So like sometimes I think about it and then my mom likes to remind me my dad was in the Navy and she had to do it all by herself
Wow.
most of the time. So she says you get no sympathy from me.
Oh
So
my.
everyone has a busy life for the most part, and especially when you have kids and all that. So I sometimes I complain about it, but I mean, one day I'm gonna wish that I was busy again, right? So
Yeah.
so I try to look at it from that perspective.
Wow. And what you're doing for work is just it's amazing and so honorable. The National Pediatric Cancer Foundation is just it's so near and dear to my heart and what you guys are doing is just incredible. How long have you been with this organization?
So full time, I started in January of 2019, but I joined the volunteer committee in 2017. I think I met our CEO at a fishing conference
Wow.
I was with a previous business and we had a booth, met him and he said, "Hey, you should join Fishing Funds the Cure," and said, "Tell me more about it." And so I joined the committee to help raise money, help connect. The company I was with, we didn't quite have a marketing budget to be a big sponsor or anything, but I just joined as, trying to volunteer my time and connections, hopefully to bring more people in. And through that process, I, got to meet everyone, learn about the organization and just kind of threw it out there one day that if they were looking for more development people, I would be interested. About 3 months after that conversation, there was an opportunity and been here ever since.
Wow. I got to meet a good amount of the fashion show committee. I volunteered just for a bit and was so impressed with how many people from various different backgrounds and organizations they come together because they want to help help these kids, and
Yeah.
they're just precious and priceless. I don't know if this is still this way, but I remember the headquarters, the pictures on the walls. Are they still there?
Oh yeah, yeah. We actually updated. I'm looking out right now and I can see we have a kid that wants to be a train engineer
Love
walking down
it.
the fashion show with his little conductor hat and everything on. And so we updated some actually recently. We just had it was really cool. There was a big company that wanted to volunteer and they sent like 30 people here and they painted our entire office. We needed kind of,
Oh,
had, it's old paint jobs, scuffs on the wall, that kind of thing. And so they just put a crew together. One of our amazing employees here put it, made the connection, and that was kind of their service project, I guess. And so we kind of piled up everything in the middle of our rooms, covered them up, and they let them come in here and paint everything. And we got some new art for the walls from some, more recent
mm,
pictures. And it was super cool. It is. We walk in every day, you see it. And no
yeah.
matter how your day is going, you're always kind of like, oh, this is why we're doing what we're doing. No matter if you had a good day, bad day, something's going on at home or whatever, it kind of puts things into perspective for you about why we're doing all these events and why we're trying to get other people involved to fundraise because we need to do more for research.
Yep. How can people support? Like, what would be the biggest way to support the foundation?
Really is just reach out to us and say I want to be involved, and then we figure out which way, how do you want to be involved, right? We have so many different activities just from an event standpoint you can get involved in, or just can you offer some professional expertise in some area? Maybe you're a marketing guru and say, hey, I want to just help your marketing team out. Maybe you own a business and you say, hey, like I know a lot of people, we can really, I can help you get connected. So maybe it's a connector, maybe it's subject matter expertise. Obviously, we always would love donations of any kind or sponsorships, but there's ways even to get involved. Like same with me. I knew I couldn't write a big check, but I knew I could help in some way, somehow. And once you get in, you start learning about the different things we have going on and you kind of find your little niche as, a volunteer committee member. And that's really the best way from a 10,000 foot view. At the end of the day, we need to raise more awareness. So however we can do those things, and if you're passionate and you want to help, we want you to help.
How many kiddos are you guys able to help, or did the funds go to research more? Tell me a little bit about the breakdown.
So our mission is we really focus on the research aspect. Our founder, Melissa, her and another woman founded the organization 35 years ago now, 34, and they've met in the hospital with their kids battling cancer and realized the government is not funding research. There's no treatment specifically made for kids, and 43 kids every day are being diagnosed with cancer. So something's off there. And so she said, we got to fix the problem. And, there's a lot of great organizations that send kids on trips or they give financial assistance to families, which is a huge thing. And then they need it. But our mission since the beginning has been we don't want a band-aid. We need to fix the problem.
Yep.
And the problem is research. We need more research to do it. And so that's what has been from day one. And we have some other cool programs for like resources for families. One thing is called Health Navigator. So if anybody out there listening has a family member that is going through this with a child, it's called Health Navigator. Right on our website, we have one person. She's a mom of a 5-year-old cancer survivor as well as a pediatric nurse, and she understands the world. She understands what you're thinking. And at worst case scenario, she's someone to talk through, to just bounce ideas off of. And best case, maybe whatever they're going through, there's a trial she knows about, whether it's within our research network or not. And if they need financial assistance, we have a very small program called a safety net, but she knows organizations that do specifically just that. So
Um,
look up Health Navigator on our website if you or anyone you know out there or have a child dealing with pediatric cancer. She's literally there to navigate. That's the job, and she's amazing, by the way.
wow. She sounds like an incredible human being. I mean, wow. To do so much after going through something, it's just
Yeah,
you could either move on or you can keep living in a way that's helping others. It's just incredible. I have a girlfriend that her daughter had pediatric cancer. And she was telling me, and I probably won't even articulate this as well as maybe others, obviously, but just how like the research is just so important because they really don't even have research on the types of medicines. They were just like halving the dose,
yeah.
giving half the dose, or they don't have the numbers of their data. to really, really understand. And it was incredible as she was telling me about that. And just, there needs to be a cure for this because kids, and I just think they just don't deserve to go through cancer. No one does,
No, and
but
that's, I mean, with your, the last time we were together was a Great Loop Challenge project we did with Captain Red, and he's in the hospital. He was dealing with stage 4 melanoma as a 60-year-old
yeah.
and just ripping apart his body basically with all the toxic stuff they had to do to treat him. And he was watching these kids right across the hall and knowing once he learned, he's like, oh, they're getting the same treatments I'm getting
Yep.
because they don't have anything made for kids. They're just trying to do the best they can of rearing back on the amount. But that's, that's our big focus. Our mission statement is to find less toxic and more targeted treatment. So while we can kill the cancer in a lot of cases in the world, it's really harming the body. So
Mhm.
numbers still percent of kids that get treated and cured of cancer have some sort of health effect by the time they're 40 years old because of the actual treatment. And so that's why that less toxic is really important. And we have some of the brightest minds in the world working collaboratively on it. Our Sunshine Project, I think, is up to 40 hospitals around the country that we fund certain projects, but they work together on it too. So a project in Tampa that's headquartered here, well, they might be working in conjunction with Colorado or New York or California hospitals on the same project to individually do it themselves. They can collaborate on it. And that was the key point when we created the Sunshine Project 15 years ago. Our founder at that time, no research was done collaboratively. So this
Wow.
was kind of we talk about big wins and everything. Her creating this idea of the collaborative research model, I think was one of the biggest things we could have ever done because not only has it helped us, other organizations and other research entities out there are starting to do that because they see it works. It's faster and it's better in some cases too for the families, Florida to Colorado, because all you need is a blood sample because they're working together. You can get treated here, get the samples, and send it along. So just a basic idea of just some of the things that we're doing to help move things forward.
Wow. That is incredible. It really is incredible. And I love that you brought up that captain and that was an amazing event, an amazing story and just seeing him and arrive from this trip that he did that was grueling and but hearing his story about why he was raising awareness and funds. And I say that because going back to like how can people help? This was a boat captain that he decided to take this like kind of grueling route, pretty hard route to take your boat. And he had some sponsors and they like are helping fuel the future for children. And it's just
Yeah,
amazing.
he's doing another project next summer too.
Is
So
he? What a cool
we're
dude.
yeah, he wanted to raise $1 million was his goal. He's like, I want to break the time record for this. It's called the Great Loop Challenge. So literally, if you look it up, the Great Loop, you can take a boat all around from the East Coast through the Great Lakes, back down the Mississippi, and back to where he started. And he broke the record by over almost 10 days. He did it in 19 days, 19 hours. And actually, two people this summer went out and tried to break his record. And I think they did,
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
He's talking him out, but it's kind of cool to see what he did. Now people are trying to break his record, and hopefully because of that, more people are getting exposed to what he did and then exposed to us. And another boat related project coming up that I have an idea of what it's going to be, but we'll share it when it's final. But it
Okay.
should be next summer, and hopefully we'll raise another $500,000 for cancer research.
I can't wait to hear about that. You
You'll
are
be the first to know.
awesome. Awesome. Well, you are a pleasure. Totally want to keep up with you, talk with you again, and kind of hear how the baby's growing up and also keep hearing how the Cancer Foundation is doing and how ways we can help. So it was a pleasure, and I know we'll talk soon.